Greetings, brothers and sisters. I've been waiting to make this since yesterday when it first broke. It's all over the place here. Alec P. Baldwin. The full interview's going to air tonight on ABC, Disney, with George Stephanopoulos.
We know you sat down with Alec Baldwin.
Yesterday afternoon, and Michael, I've done thousands of interviews in the last 20 years at ABC. This was the most intense I've ever experienced. Well, it's so raw.
It's raw because he cries throughout. A lot of crying going on.
I mean, as you can imagine, he's devastated. But he was also very candid. He was very forthcoming. He answered every question. He talked about Helena Hutchins, talked about meeting with her family as well, went through in detail what...
It's raw interview. It goes on for over an hour. He answers every question thrown at him.
What happened on the set that day, and I have to tell you, I was surprised in many places over the course of that hour and 20 minutes that we sat down yesterday.
An hour and 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Lengthy interview.
Lengthy interview. When you get Alec Baldwin, you need a lot of time with him. That guy, you can't stick Alec Baldwin in the corner. He's got to be on for a while.
Interview. So we're going to have a primetime special tomorrow night. It's on 8 o'clock on the network. It's going to stream on Hulu immediately after that later that evening.
Hulu, it's streaming on Hulu. So you're going to get all this big interview. And so ABC then released footage, and the footage was Alec Baldwin talks about Rush shooting. We'll get into the trigger thing in a moment. And Alec Baldwin, he's weepy, and they get all the weepy here. I'm going to show you the YouTube clip in a second here. A lot of weepy. He's a lot of weepy going on there. He's just sad. He's sad, Alec Baldwin. So they also put out this promo clip here. And let's start at the end. Usually I don't do this, but this is worth starting at the end.
Because I think back, and I think of what could I have done.
Alec Baldwin, Unscripted, the newsmaking special event.
Alec Baldwin, Unscripted. Can you believe it? Alec Baldwin, Unscripted. This is an interview. It's not supposed to be scripted. This one's unscripted. We usually script our interviews. We give the questions to the interviewee ahead of time, and we practice, and we role play, and we really script the crap out of them. But this one's unscripted. Therefore, it is scripted, right? I mean, it's an interview. They're not supposed to be scripted. You're supposed to ask questions that they don't know that you're going to ask them ahead of time, and they give you unscripted answers, allegedly, right? So this is how bad Disney's gotten over there at ABC. It's Alec Baldwin, and he's unscripted. He's unscripted just like on Instagoal. And here it is, the unscripted interview.
Who was loved by everyone who worked with and liked by everyone who worked with and admired.
It's just so hard. I taught Kyle Rittenhouse everything he knows. He starts crying here. Right off the bat, we got some tears. He's talking about Helena Hutchins, and she's, loved by everyone. So much so that the mere memory of it is too much for this great actor. Boom, it's unscripted music, and it's made dramatic here.
I mean, even now, I find it hard to believe that. It just doesn't seem real to me.
Doesn't seem real, and Alex is based in reality so much. He's a reality-based person. This thing that happened doesn't seem real at all. It's Alec Baldwin, unscripted. It doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem real to me at all. It's not real. It's fake. It's imaginary. I don't know. It's not real. Is it real? Tell me it's not real.
You haven't said much in public since that tragic accident.
Just did that impromptu press conference on the side of the road where you demeaned your wife a couple of times.
Why speak out now? I think the big question, and the one you must have asked yourself 1,000 times,
is why didn't I retire years ago? I'm just sucking right now.
How could this have happened? You've described it.
There he is, bent over. Just how could this have happened?
There's a 1 in a trillion shot, and the gun
One in a trillion shot. That's the kind of marksman he is.
was in your hand. How do you come to terms with that?
He's going to cry. That's how. Obviously, he's been working on the waterworks for, whatever period of time.
It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you know
Wait, what'd you just say?
it wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
He didn't pull the trigger. It's a miracle bullet. It's a miracle bullet that was put in the gun, and he never pulled the trigger. I didn't pull the trigger. The trigger was never pulled.
So you never pulled the trigger.
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never.
What did you
He would never do that. He would never point a gun and pull a trigger. He just points guns, and then miracle bullets go off. And these miracle 1 in a trillion bullets goes off, and it shot 2 people. It's a miracle bullet. I have no, the miracle bullet was just sitting in the gun waiting to go off. It just waited. It somehow sensed when I was pointing it at the camera woman and, the director, and it went off like a miracle bullets do. I mean, I don't, not my fault. Like it just, it just knew what to do and it did it.
think happened? How did a real bullet get on that set?
I have no idea. Someone put a live bullet in a gun. A bullet that wasn't even supposed to be on the property.
Boom! It's George Stephanopoulos. And it's Alec P. Baldwin, this riveting, unscripted interview. Somebody put the bullet, they snuck a bullet that wasn't supposed to even be on the property. They snuck it into a gun, and then without a trigger ever being pulled, this miracle bullet fired, and it went off just at the wrong time or right time, depending on how you look at it, when Alec Baldwin happened to be waving it around, pointing it at people. He just, no trigger was pulled. Remember that. This is unscripted. No trigger was pulled. He didn't pull the trigger. They didn't know this bullet should never have been in the gun. The gun should have never been, on the set. The bullet should have never been on the set. It's a miracle bullet. It's one of those bullets that just goes off randomly on its own without any trigger being pulled.
How do you respond to actors like George Clooney who say that every time they were handed a gun, they checked it themselves?
Exactly. Raw. It's raw. This one's raw. He's asking raw questions. What about Clooney? How do you respond to Clooney with your magical bullet that you didn't check to see if there's a magic bullet in the gun before you pointed it at anybody so that would go off without the trigger ever being pulled?
Your emotions are so clearly so right there on the surface. You felt shock. You felt anger. You felt sadness. Do you feel guilt?
Go blow it, you guilty M&F'er.
You said you're not a victim, but is this the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Yes.
Yes, it is. This magic bullet, this triggerless bullet, it's the worst thing by far. It's the worst thing. Marrying a woman who thinks she's Spanish, that doesn't even compare at all.
Yeah. Because I think back, and I think of what could I have done.
You could have not pointed the gun at people, the gun and then not pulled the trigger, right? That's what you could have done. I think back to what I could have done differently. I think about it again and again. A magic bullet, a trigger that was never pulled. What could I have done differently? Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin, Unscripted, the newsmaking special event. Tomorrow night at 8/7 Central on ABC.
ABC, it's unscripted. It's Alec P. Baldwin. It's happening. It's a big event on ABC, and it's unscripted. And he's going to not script it at all. All right, this is going to be epic. Epically bad. Look at them. Look at how they're making it all artsy-fartsy on ABC and George Stephanopoulos. And they're getting it done, right? They're getting it done over there with Alec P. Baldwin showing up a magic bullet. No trigger was ever pulled. There was no, no trigger was hurt in the making of this movie. They didn't hurt any triggers. They didn't pull any triggers. They don't pull triggers over there. They just point guns and bullets go flying off and randomly go off of their own. That's how it goes in Hollywood, where anything's believable on Disney and Alec P. Baldwin. There's more to come on this. We're not, this is just a little bit of a taste. It's a little bit of a taste of an unscripted interview by a classic journalist in George Stephanopoulos and Alec P. Baldwin going head-to-head, toe-to-toe in a triggerless world where bullets go off by themselves, guns go off by themselves, and bullets that should never, ever have existed somehow make it into guns on B movies that Alec Baldwin's a producer on. And so, this is where we are right now in the storyline. And it's unscripted. Remember, it's not scripted at all. There's no script to this one. They usually script the crap out of their interviews, but not this one. Only spirituality will save this world, Alec B. Baldwin. This is Paul Romano, definitely reporting for the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.